Hi, thank you for joining us on The Spiritual Awakener. I'm so glad that you found this podcast, and you found it because either you are having an awakening time in your life and you kind of don't know what's going on, but you know something's going on, or you found this podcast because you have a story and your life has changed because you've had a spiritual awakening. Whichever has drawn you here, we're really excited that you've joined us and that you've been guided to listen to these incredible interviews of everyday people like me and you, listening to their stories of how they have had experiences that have led them then to help the collective and serve in one healing way or another. So I'm Susan Kennard. Thank you so much for joining me on my very, very exciting opportunity of a podcast called The Spiritual Awakener. And I'm interviewing actually today a very, very good friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, and her name is Lorraine Butterfield. We go back a little way and it's almost as if we are kindred spirits. So Lorraine, thanks so much for agreeing to be interviewed on my podcast. And so welcome.
Thank you, Susan. It's really lovely to be here. Thank you for asking me, actually. It's very exciting, isn't it, to come on and talk about these things?
Yeah, and I think it also allows us to really speak about our life as well. So that leads me to say, you know, what would you say was one of the most spiritual awakening experiences, or maybe the first one, you know, whatever you feel would help people understand you a bit better?
Yeah, I mean, there have been several for me. I always feel that with people, it's not just about one awakening. I feel like through your lifetime, you get several, and you either choose to use it and move forward, or you choose to ignore it. Now, my first experience was when I was very young. I was probably around 7 years old. And it was more of an extraterrestrial experience for me. Wow. So I was lying in bed one night and something got into bed with me. Okay. Wow. Now that sounds all a bit, but actually it wasn't human. Yeah. And I could feel that this creature was covered in hair, so almost like bear-like.
Wow.
And
that's fascinating, but also feels a little bit like, for those listening, you know, that's a bit of a scary thought.
Yeah. And it was for a 7-year-old little girl. I froze, you know, I froze in the moment and I went, what is it? Now, as soon as it arrived, it sort of went. And I lay there for ages, you know, and 7 years old, not knowing what went on. And it led to something else happening, which was so that following morning. So this happened in the nighttime. The following morning, I was woken by a really loud noise, but nobody else in the house seemed to be able to hear it. So it was about 6 o'clock, and I remember going outside and looking up and seeing the only way I could describe it is a UFO.
Wow.
And it hovered in the sky for a while. And then it went. Now, I don't tell many people this story because when I did tell people this story when I was younger, nobody believed me. And you know, but I knew at that point that I'd experienced something special. Even at 7 years old, I'd had an experience. And actually later on, I worked with that. And it was somebody just coming to say that they were protecting me.
Yes.
So I'd say to anyone watching this, don't ever be scared of these experiences, because actually it is just a form of protection. It's just something, it was saying to me, there is something other than just this world, you know? And I've always believed that. And I grew up and I knew that I felt slightly different. I knew that things were going to happen. So I was having premonitions quite at a young age.
Yeah.
To the point I would say things to people at school and they would look at me and go, how did you know that was going to happen? And I'd be like, I don't know. I just knew. But I knew there was something different. Not really different, but I was more in tune with what was going on around me.
Yeah.
So that was really my first major, and I forgot it. You know, as you
Of
grow up,
course, yeah.
other
Yeah.
things happen,
And also
and
at
it
that
was,
time as well, not to put an age on you or anything, but in that time, you know, actually it wasn't spoken about, as when, you know, I spiritually awakened in the 80s. It wasn't spoken about, and
no,
you couldn't really talk about those sort of experiences. Whereas now, well, maybe the UFO thing is still, and the alien thing is still a little bit,
yeah,
for the purpose of the recording, inverted commas, a bit weird for some people to hear. Actually, we are all connected, aren't we, Lorraine?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know, you are me, I am you, and those in other galaxies and time zones and multidimensional are part of us as well.
yeah.
It's just that we forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think we'd be ignorant to think that we were the only beings in this
Yeah.
whole solar system.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always said that. I've always said, you know, that there are other life forms, you know.
Yes.
Not to get too deep about it, but I
Yeah.
just believe there are other, you know, and I believe that maybe we all come from different places as well, and
I
we,
think we do. I mean,
you
people talk
know,
about starseed, don't they? You know, the
yeah,
starseed part of us, and
yeah.
you know,
So, you know,
I think that's very true. I mean, I don't think we ever know until it's our time to pass over, and then we'll be like, "Ah, got it. Remember everything,"
yeah.
and then possibly come back again, and then we'll forget again. So it's, you know, we just have to go on what our real true essence feels.
Yeah,
So
but
what
I
happened
don't think we need to know either. I
after?
think we just need to know there is something else other than us.
Yeah, yeah. And
And
that we
then I
looked after and
suppose
protected.
my, you know, my later experience, I was about 16,
Mm.
and I was very drawn to working with tarot cards.
Yeah,
Um, to the point where it was not obsessive, but they were very, you know, I felt
yeah,
very drawn to them. I
yeah.
felt like I needed to hold them. I felt like I needed to work with them. And again, it was another one of those taboo
Yes,
things.
yeah,
And when I started to tell people that I did that sort of thing, you know, witch came to mind.
yeah, yeah,
And all
yeah.
those sort of things. And actually, what it did for me, I stepped away
Mm.
from, and I put the cards away
Yeah.
because I didn't want to be different. I
Mm.
wanted to fit in. And
Yeah.
because of my belief systems and what was running in me, I wanted to be a people pleaser. I wanted to
Mm.
please my parents. I wanted to do things that they
Yeah.
wanted, you know, like get the career they wanted me to do and all those sort of things. So what I did was
Yeah.
I stepped away from spirituality, not completely, because there's always a bit of you, there's
Yes.
always a bit of you that's still there,
Heart that knows.
but I put it on the shelf and went, no, I want to be normal.
Yeah.
I want career. I want relationships. I want all that normal stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and in essence, went through the next few years of my life putting other people first instead of
Mm.
myself.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
which in, you know, which is
Which
actually,
was probably part of the journey. You know,
yeah,
we can look
yeah,
at, so people listening to this and saying, well, oh my goodness, like 40 years ago, I was really drawn to crystals, or I was drawn to and I could feel that I was healing someone by putting my hand on them, or
yeah,
what the words I was being given, or I was just seeing angels, and I've put it away and it's too late now. It's never too late, is it?
no,
And
no,
there's no
it
time
never.
really in spirit, and there's no time on your mission. It's just, it is what it is in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe that part of my journey was to know underneath that there was this spiritual being in me,
Yeah.
but I was meant to go through these other experiences
Yeah.
because then it has led to helping others. Okay, so
Yes.
basically I went through years of not putting myself first, of pleasing
Mm.
other people, of stepping into the wrong relationships, or not, you
Mm.
know. And then I'd say my next spiritual awakening came a lot later in life,
Mm.
in my late 30s,
Yeah.
when I found myself in a relationship that was abusive. I had 3 very, very young children, and I knew I needed to get out, and something was talking to me.
And I just want to say that Lorraine has actually written a book, and what's the name of your book, Lorraine?
It's called When Love Turns to Harm, A Journey to Self-Love.
And they can find that on Amazon. And
yeah, it's on Amazon. Yeah, you find it under my name or the title.
And that book, you know, I'll let you carry on in a moment about your story, but that book, you know, when you read that book, obviously I've read it, and when you read that book, you're actually in the story with Lorraine. You really are. And so she really talks about how she has her life, but how she overcame that through the work she does actually now. So talk about that a bit.
Absolutely. And you know, for me at that point, it was one particular morning, and I woke up and I went, this has to stop. But it wasn't me, it was somebody talking to me. My youngest child at the time was 8 months old. And I then went into what I would call fear for about 6 months, putting up with the situation because I was too afraid to do anything. And every morning I woke up and somebody inside my head said, this has to end. This has to end. And
that's your intuition, isn't it? Like, so people listening to this and they're like, oh my goodness, you know, I'm in this, because I've been in as you know, we know each other really well. And I've been in a situation where I had to make that decision. My babies were 11 months old and 2 years old. And I had to make that decision to end that so that I could protect them and protect myself. And so if anyone's listening to that, I think it's a really good thing to say, is that anyone's listening to this and they feel that they're in a situation they can't get out of, well, both Lorraine and I have. And we serve the collective and we have a great life and our children are fine. So just to say that there's always a way.
There is always a way. And you know, and that's sort of the message of my book, is that there is always a way, and however hard it is, you will do it when the time is right. But you know, and like I said, it took me 6 months of building up to the right moment to say enough is enough. But I looked at my children, they were 4, 3 and 1. And I went, they're all girls. And I didn't want them ever growing up thinking that was how a relationship should be.
Exactly the same as me. That's exactly the same. So I'm sure there are many people that are listening to this that have been in that situation, or maybe even in that situation. And
you know, so nobody can, and to be fair, nobody knew what was going on, because when you are in that situation, you don't tell people because of the shame, the guilt, whatever else is going on with you at that point.
Did you make excuses? Because I know I made excuses and sort of said, oh, well, when that person gets better, or they're just going through a difficult time, and I just couldn't really see it. And yet my heart, and yours did too, your soul and your heart knew that it couldn't be that way.
Because what you find with people when you're in that sort of situation is they constantly apologize to you, and you give them another chance, because if you know, like I said to you earlier, I was a people pleaser. I wanted to make, you know, and I believed in marriage, and I wanted to make, I wanted it to work. I had 3 young children. I was trying to keep it all together, and actually I realized it wasn't healthy. And so for me, I don't think it was one particular moment, but it was that 6 month build up. And then finally, one day, I stood in my power, and I'd been henpecked seriously, to the point where I had no strength. I was drained of all emotion, and I stood in my power and I went, enough. And that strength was an inner strength. It came from source. It came from somewhere else. No longer was I going to put up with this situation. I needed to step into that energy. And I just remember it's the strongest I'd ever felt throughout that few years of that relationship. You know, and I'd say to anyone that's going through the same thing, you know, it will when you've had enough is enough, somehow spirit takes over. They step in with you, and they join you to be strong enough to move forward. So that was really, you know, a huge step forward for me that led me to turn my life around. I knew that I'd been healing with my hands. I knew that for years, even with the tarot and the touch. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, the divorce was very messy and it took time, and we were in that court, all those sort of things. But there was this inner strength in me that knew that there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And it's at that point that I decided that my spiritual journey would start. So I stepped into doing some Reiki, self-healing for me at that point. I did Reiki. Then I progressed on and became a Reiki practitioner, as you do. And started working with other people. Started to feel stronger. And then that's how my journey, and then other things, you know, other modalities came in and I worked with those.
But how do you help people now? So what sort of ways do you help people now? How do people, I mean, people will know you actually if they follow you on Facebook. So what do you do for people?
Okay, so yes, I still do the tarot. I after 30 years of putting the cards away, I opened my bedside drawer one day, and I think this was just after I moved out of the family home. And a crystal, I used to keep my tarot cards with a clear quartz crystal, and the crystal disappeared for years. And I opened the bedside drawer one day, and there it was. And I went, that's a sign. And I got the cards out and I started working with those. So what do I do now? I do all sorts of things. I do the tarot.
So you do, I mean, we see Lorraine every single morning. She, without fail, pretty much every day of the week, apart from weekends, she is there early in the morning doing her guided tarot, and 2 days a week, Mondays and Fridays, it's with EFT tapping.
It is.
And EFT tapping is emotional freedom technique, and people can find you, can't they, on Facebook, Lorraine Butterfield on Facebook, and join you and come and watch you. It's for free. And then you have, I know you have groups, so tell us about your groups.
So so I do, so I went on to be an EFT matrix re-imprinting practitioner. So I show people on a Monday and Friday, like Susan was saying, on my live feeds. I will read the cards, and then they will tap around the subject that they bring up to release any emotions that might be holding in your field that you just need to let go of. You know, nothing deep. I don't want to trigger you. It's just about a nice calming release in the morning. So yes, I work with people like that, but I always felt, I always feel, and I still very much strongly believe this, when people come for a tarot reading for guidance, actually what they're looking for is healing. You know, and very well, all the time I'll do a reading, and the emotion that's going on, the pattern they're repeating, will come up in the cards,
of course.
You know, and so what I've done is I haven't just introduced it. It's been going on for a couple of years. I do something which I call, I haven't given it a name yet. It's tarot and tapping together.
It's both. It's like helping guidance wise, but also helping release what's come up in the guidance.
Absolutely.
It's a really good combination, isn't it?
It's a beautiful combination. I think it's unique. I don't know anyone else that does it, but it's a wonderful way to give you guidance and for it to present what is going on in your field. What is it that needs to be healed? What do you need to let go of? And then tap around it to release that. Okay, and it's a really fantastic. It works really well.
It's a powerful tool, isn't it? As well. People can do it self-help. So what are the, so I just want to say, so they can work with you one-to-one like that. They can watch you every morning like I do if I'm in between school runs or making sandwiches, or depending on what time Lorraine is there. And they can join your groups. You've got is it weekly, your time?
Yes, I've got a couple of groups that I run on a weekly basis. So on a Thursday evening every week, I ran a group called Tapping with Lorraine, and it really is an hour of grounding, tapping. We work on specific subjects, so I'll pick a subject and we'll work around it online from the comfort of your own home. Okay, and you can come along, join me on Zoom, and we all tap together. It's a really great community.
They can find that on your website. They can find that on your website.
Yeah, so if you want to subscribe, it's all on my website, lorrainebutterfield.co.uk. So, you know, exactly who I am, so it's easy to find me.
Yeah, it's easy to find. I'm the same. I always do mine, Susan Kennard, isn't it? Yeah.
It's so much easier because lots of people know your name, and then if you've got something else. So you can subscribe on there. And on a Wednesday night, I work with a lovely lady called Jan, and Jan will do a meditation, and then we'll do half an hour. Is that
physical or is that online as well?
Again, that's online. I'm finding that online is so much easier for everyone because it is from the comfort of your own home. Because I know with physical groups, sometimes it's difficult for people to get the time to go.
It's the way forward.
And it's, you know, these groups are online. You can subscribe again through my website. And you can watch on replay. There's a private Facebook group for each of the groups. You can go along. If you can't make it on the night, watch the replay, you know. But they're beautiful, beautiful energies. And it's a really great way to connect with other people that just want to clear some energy.
And what else can you do? So people can actually work with you privately, as we're talking today, one-to-one on Zoom, and they can just have a reading if they want, can't they?
Absolutely.
They can just have a reading, or they can come and just have EFT, or they can have a combination of the both, can't they? And could you offer anyone listening here, could you offer them a 15-minute chat before they commit to any?
Absolutely. I'm always very open. If people want to talk to me first before they work with me, because obviously I do something called matrix re-imprinting as well, which is stepping into the subconscious memories, you know. So basically working with your inner child, we call it an echo, going back to where your belief systems are made, turning them around, you know. And if you really want a clearer understanding of that, you know, I always offer people, you know, a 20-minute chat where they can, you know, have a consultation with me.
And can they do that on your website? Can they email you, or is there a booking?
You can contact me via my website. All my contact details are on there. There's a mobile number, so, you know, you can even private message me on Facebook if you follow me on Facebook as well.
So they can get a hold of you, and so if they feel resonance with what you're talking about, you know, maybe they just want a reading, maybe they have the reading first and then they come and book some sessions with you, you know, who knows what feels right for them. But you know, it's a great service, and I think that whether you are feeling, you know, you're listening to this, and whether you're feeling that you're just a bit stuck at the moment, you want a bit of guidance, and you really resonate with Lorraine's beautiful energy and her journey that she's been on, because what an incredible journey to have these spiritual awakenings. And really this happens in everyone's lives. They just don't realize that they are spiritual awakenings.
And just before Christmas I had a Kundalini awakening as well, so that was you know, I just want to say to anyone, you know, awakenings, they keep coming to you in different forms, you know, and people explain. I didn't know, to be fair, and I'm going to I didn't know what a Kundalini awakening was. But I was lying in bed and something light shot through my body, through the crown to my base, back up. I felt like I'd had an electric shock. And for a couple of days, I was all over the place, and I didn't know what had happened to me. And I just happened to be researching it because I thought, what was been going on, you know? And I suddenly realised I'd had this Kundalini awakening. And I think it must be different for everyone. Because mine came through the crown to the base and up. And some people say it rises from the base chakra up. So, you know, I want to say to you, it's whatever it is for you.
What they need to receive from source in that moment to ignite a bit more of a higher vibration to straight out there.
You know, and it's a constant progress. We're constantly growing and evolving. You know, and then we have to adjust to it a little bit.
You have to align to that new energy, don't you? And I know that, you know, as we're recording this now, you know, it's the veil is very thin, and there are many people that are realizing that there's so much more for them in this world than you know, the dog eat dog world of the 9-to-5 life. And I just want to say what my guides are sort of giving me a heads up on here is about the fear. You know, that there's so much, you know, we've got this thing at the moment called the coronavirus. So if you're listening to this years later, then, you know, that will be done and dusted and no one's talking about it because it's just the thing of the moment. And there's a huge amount of fear around it. And, you know, that fear is being fed into people. And so this is what we really need to kind of stand tall with, don't we, Lorraine, where we can just say, well, actually, we are incredible beings of light having a human experience. Yes, we have a physical body, but actually we don't need to be in fear of anything. And this is where the work of the healing comes in, of our own journeys. You know, we work on ourselves all the time. You know, it doesn't stop. You know, even if you're working with people as we do to help them heal, our journey doesn't stop, does it?
Never.
You know, we're a constant work in progress. So if you are feeling the fear and you are feeling that there's something going on for you, and you're being drawn into the media fear or being drawn into what disease is, then it might be worth doing some work like this, you know, working with your energy field and just see what happens. Maybe you will feel that you release some of the fear. I'm 100% sure you will, but you can just give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, my saying to that is, what are you waiting for? If you want to change things, what are you waiting for?
Yes.
At the end of the day, we attract what we put out. So if you're carrying all these energies around with you, you're attracting more of them. You're attracting it. So, you know, it's time to let them go, maybe, you know.
And acknowledge that you've come on an amazing journey. You know, things have happened. We've all had that in our life. Sometimes it might be childhood, sometimes it might be older. You might be going through something at the moment which is really challenging for you. So it might be that you've been guided to find this podcast, to listen to us today, where this has just been your guides, your beautiful helpers around you, your inner guidance has led you to listen to this because it was the right time for you. So Lorraine, thank you. Let's give your website again.
Yes, it's thank you, Susan. Yes, thank you very much. It's lorrainebutterfield.co.uk, and you can.
And your book is called?
Sorry?
Your book is called?
My book is called When Love Turns to Harm, Journey to Self-Love.
Yeah. And find Lorraine on Facebook, definitely, and watch her.
Come and watch me in the mornings.
You know, join the tribe. Join the tribe. You don't have to say anything. You can just join the tribe and listen in and check her out, because she's really fantastic. So thank you so much, Lorraine. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. You can find me on susankennard.co.uk. Same name, you know, like it is what it is. It says what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. And if you've had a spiritual awakening experience or something in your life that has led you to have a light bulb moment of how you can serve the collective, please contact me at susankennard.co.uk. Find me on Facebook, it's just my name. Find me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of the social media, and I'd really love to hear from you. So thank you for joining us again. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to hear my spiritual awakening experience, go to episode 1, where I tell you all about it. Much love for now, and see you soon. Bye for now.